To the light. Where runs through our veins, we fight together, wars of the factory. It runs through our veins, we fight together. Warriors untamed, our battle cry echoes. We cannot be tamed. Buccaneers were tearing through the night, unleashing the power.
And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Oh, you're muted, Musab. You're muted. Poor Musab. Welcome to the show, everybody. I hope y'all are having a blessed evening, blessed night. We're coming at you live. It's definitely a great time to be a Bucs fan. Even if it is the off season, it's always a great time to be the Bucs fan. Mr. Tariq, hit us with that beautiful intro, my man. Come on.
I'm so sorry. I have no idea why I was on mute, but sunshine seekers and sports enthusiasts, you are tuned in to another bright and breezy episode of the RBLR Bucs podcast, where we bring the heat even when the sun's not out. I'm one of your co-hosts, Musab, as Carter mentioned, and I'm here to sprinkle some sunshine on your day, or we are here to sprinkle some sunshine on your day. I got to say, isn't it just a scorcher out there in Tampa Bay? But I hope you've been slathering on that sunscreen. I know summer's here. Maybe you're out there soaking up some vitamin D because, hey, life's too short to stay indoors when the sun's calling your name. And, hey, just because football's taking a little siesta doesn't mean Tampa Bay's sports scene is hibernating. Our Rays and Rowdies are actually out there making waves and kicking goals. Speaking of which, mark your calendars, folks, because June 29th, we actually got a little watch party action going on at Berry House Beer Company, Ybor. We'll be cheering on the Rowdies as they take on Loudoun United. If you ask me, I think it's going to be electric. But let's not forget about the countdown, which is on 52 days away from seeing our beloved Buccaneers back in action. It's like that calm before the storm, and we're ready to hide those waves. We're ready to not hide those waves. We're ready to ride those waves. And folks, we got some interesting stuff cooked up for y'all tonight. Since this is the off season, we were thinking, why don't we reflect on some questionable decisions by the Buccaneers front office when it comes to drafting or free agency signings in the past. But obviously, there's some more sun in our sky. I want you to turn up the voltage because joining me, as he already introduced himself in this sunshine studio, is none other than the electrifying, the sports guru with the punch, the one and only Carter Brantley. Carter, are you ready to light up this podcast and talk some Tampa Bay football? Well, some questionable decisions in Tampa Bay football. If so,
I always
the
am.
spotlight is all yours.
I appreciate it, but I always am with Musab Tariq, especially with RBLR Nation. Hope y'all are doing well. Like Musab said, it's been hot this week. It's kind of raining right now where I'm at in Riverview. I don't know how the weather's looking where you are, Mr. Tariq.
It was raining a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a little drizzly,
now,
but yeah, definitely scorching if it's not raining, which is just, woof, man, it's been brutal. But yeah, hopefully y'all are, like you said, catching some rays and catching some sunshine. And if you're trying to get some comments going, if you won't have something to say, if you think, oh man, y'all are stupid, like why are you saying this? If you have something to say, something to reply with, then head to YouTube. You can drop some comments and potentially even get on screen if you have a question or maybe you want us to expand on something. Definitely drop your comments, your feedbacks, or if you just want to say hello, that's cool too. But regardless, we appreciate y'all being here. And as always, if you like what you hear, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from, whether it's live or on demand. So as Mr. Treek said, we'll get right into it. We have some all-time bad Bucks front office decisions. And usually we kind of just list them out, but this time we're going to do it in kind of a little snake draft fashion. We're going to kind of go back and forth with our picks. It's we're just going to kind of try to outdo each other's awfulness in regards to the Bucks front office, if you want to call it that. So we'll get right into it just to explain kind of the rules. Like I said, it's snake draft. So I'll go and then Musab will go, then Musab will go and then I'll go, so on and so forth. And we're focusing explicitly on the picks and the free agents, just because, to be quite honest, there haven't really been that many trades. I mean, it's football. There's just not really that many trades that happen. And the ones that have, for the most part, the Bucks have done well. So we're focusing exclusively on free agents and draft picks. So I'll get things started with my first pick. I'm going to go with famous Jameis, the Jameis Winston first overall pick in the 2015 draft. It was brutal.
All right, we were just going over some a little bit of that famous Jameis action. Carter's about to join us very soon. Looks like he's just working out some technical difficulties, but I guess I'll start a little bit with it. You know, for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is famous Jameis ups and downs. I'll probably say the first thing is, you know, it's always like that. He's like that 30 for 30 kind of guy. I forgot where I saw it, but and I've said it before, maybe in the past, which is, Jameis Winston always reminded me of that student with like a 4.0 GPA, but he had like 31 DUIs. So how it looked, there was always those interceptions, which just made it ugly. And I don't know. I feel like we gave him enough time to show us, some improvement and show us that he's changed. And I know he's probably I think he came up with the excuse that like he got eye surgery or something when he joined the
That's
Saints.
right.
I'll let you elaborate on this because this was your guy.
No, for sure. Sorry about that. I guess this rain's kind of messing with the Wi-Fi connection or something. But yeah, it was a heck of a time to be a Bucks fan, to be watching the Bucks play football. It was certainly a roller coaster, that's for sure. The 30 for 30 season, like you mentioned, and yeah, it was a tough time to watch, and to spend a first overall pick like that on him. Just really, really arg ugly. So that's my first pick, just because it's famous Jameis or infamous Jameis, whatever you want to call him. So yeah, that was my first overall pick. Mr. Tariq, how about you, man? The ball's all yours.
Who my first roll pick's got to be Mr. Roberto Aguayo, who was
Ooh,
a kicker. Yeah, if you didn't know, he's a kicker. Drafted in the second round of the 2016 NFL draft. I'll tell you this: I graduated high school 2016. I thought 2016 was a great year, minus this draft. I don't know what made someone think that selecting a kicker in the second round would be a good idea. I think it's more than a reach. I think it's something that and correct me, Carter, have you ever seen this before? Someone drafting a kicker this early? Maybe I've seen like a third or fourth round, maybe, but I don't know. But second round, absolutely nuts. And it's kind of just came down to, why this was an absolute crappy draft pick was because, you think about the cost versus performance, all that investment in Aguayo, that draft capital, the salary, just for him to kind of just be an average Joe. He had a short NFL career. He didn't even do much. So it's like, okay, fine. You get this guy's second round. This guy better be the greatest kicker of all time. Again, phenomenal career in college. But I don't know. For whatever reason, it never worked out. People can just say, he had all these kind of other pressures or whatever. But to me, it just, I don't know why the hell would you draft a kicker? I don't care who they are. You don't draft a kicker in the second round, especially when your team's not even good. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one thing if you just won the Super Bowl and you're like, you know what, let's just start, screwing around. But just horrible execution, horrible choice. I don't know. I was confused when it happened.
yeah, it was very much a too cute kind of pick. They weren't a kicker away from being contenders, that's for sure. I don't know if any team's really ever going to be a kicker away. But I guess at the time, they were, I don't know, they had the Matt Bryant curse going on. So maybe in the context of that, if you really, really squint, it kind of made sense. But even then, you really got to be stretching to try to explain away this one. There's really, at least with the Winston pick, you're trying to get a franchise quarterback. Fine, it floundered, it failed, it was pretty bad. But in this case, man, the difference between the second round pick kicker like Roberto Aguao, even his ceiling, and just signing a kicker, it's not big enough to warrant a second round pick. So yeah, the pick for this one was just brutal. So throwing it right back to you, man. It's a snake draft, so give us your second round pick for the awful front office decisions.
Oh man, I gotta go second round. Worst draft picks got to be Kyle Trask. There was once a time I was on the Trask train, but that's way in the past. And if I even was on that train, I would have jumped off already, probably with a bunch of bruises and scrapes, which is what I have internally, knowing that our Buccaneers had chosen him. I don't know. Just again, at first you think, okay, is this guy like going to be our future? Just because after Tom Brady, he's going to have to go at 1.2. But no, it just, I'm not going to act like I know every single thing about why this guy is not our starting quarterback. But what I do know is that we've given him enough time, to show us that he deserves to be, that backup spot. He was not, because Blaine Gabbert was behind Brady, and even, I mean, up until now, he's still a backup. It's just like, again, we got him in the second round, big reach. To me, I think it was just stupid planning. I think we were just in that kind of sunshine and rainbow phase when we won the Super Bowl, that we just decided to play a little bit risky and maybe think we could invest in a quarterback, something like that. But no, again, I don't know, just absolutely disappointing. It just never worked out. His development time is embarrassing. You would think by now he would be able to show us something, but I don't know how many pass attempts does he have so far in his career? Like maybe just a handful. I don't know. So overall, yeah, just super disappointing. Especially when I think this was like the first year. We just finished that first year with RBLR. We just won that Super Bowl. I feel like we were all sunshine and rainbows as well, and then boom, this happens.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Yeah, I mean, it was just getting too cute again. Like, I don't know what it is with Jason Light and second round picks and just trying to do too much instead of just kind of sticking to a game plan. I don't know. At the time, Bruce Arians was super like, oh, well, we're going to develop him. It's the first time the Bucs have been able to, sit a quarterback and be able to just like let him learn. And he didn't learn too much, I guess. So, it's kind of brutal to watch. And they missed out. Creed Humphrey went the pick before that. Obviously, he's become one of the best centers in football. Bucks had Ryan Jensen at the time, so it's easy to second guess these picks. But it is tough to see talented players go around him, and for the Bucks to miss out on it. So, what are you going to do? So I'll go with my own second round pick. Mine is Vernon Hargraves. Yikes, another UF guy. Went to high school with his sister and went to high school with him for like a year. He was a lot of fun in high school, and he was a lot of fun in college for sure. So it's hard to kind of second guess this pick a whole lot because, he was a solid cornerback in college, but man, his lack of size and his lack of athletic ability kind of caught up to him at the NFL level. And he really turned out to be pretty bad. Didn't play for a second contract with the Bucks, just kind of petered out. I think his kind of most noteworthy career moment was, I think he got a penalty in the Super Bowl a few years ago when he was with the Bengals for running onto the field when he's not even a player. So he wasn't even active. So it was tough. It was a tough first round pick. And so for my second round pick, that's going to be my guy, Vernon Hargraves. Sorry, Mr. Hargraves, but that's how it's got to be.
I remember when I was in ninth grade, actually.
Yeah.
I remember I used to read the newspaper, and I think he was the Tampa Bay Times Player of the Year.
Oh yeah.
I remember there was a lot of talk about him, and that's how I was like, oh snap. And then, he went to UF, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, this guy's going to a big school. I know he bowled out at UF, and then, I feel like, Carter, all these guys you've already mentioned already, it seems like all these dudes tend to, ball out, in college, and it doesn't work out. And I actually just realized so far we've all mentioned Florida boys. I believe so, right? Wait, we got Vernon Hargreaves, UF, Kyle Trask, UF, and FSU, Roberto Aguayo. So maybe we shouldn't be drafting anyone from Florida. Yeah, I don't think we have any good drafts from Florida. I don't know. Maybe we do.
Yeah, I'm sure if we go back far enough, there's someone maybe, but yeah, definitely not recently. Definitely not a whole lot recently. Going in state for this stuff has really not worked out for the Bucks. So yeah, I'm with you. It was really cool watching like a hometown guy get picked by the Bucks. Like I was super stoked for it. I'm sure as many others were. But yeah, it just really didn't work out, and it worked out pretty miserably for all parties involved. But if you're looking for something that's not a bust, if you're looking for to upgrade your wardrobe with a first round pick that's going to hit, it's going to be a Mike Evans type hit, then go to rblrsports.com, go to shop.rblrsports.com. We've got some really, really great stuff there. If you're looking for something to kind of carry you through the summer and get you into the off season, we've got some great Bucks gear. We've also got some great Rays gear because they're playing right now. In fact, I think they take on the Twins tonight. Like Musab mentioned, if you're trying to gear up before that Rowdies watch party, we've definitely got some great Rowdies gear there. That's going to be on June 29th. Just another little plug there for you. And of course, we've got Lightning gear. And the Sun, they're doing some great things over there. So definitely check it out. We've got some really, really fantastic stuff, and we'll give you a promo code. That's Cannon, CANNONS. Type that bad boy in for 10% off your entire order. All right, so we'll move on with our little snake draft for the horrible decisions that the Bucks have made over the years. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go with a free agent for my third round pick, and mine is going to be Eric Wright. No, not Easy E. He shares a name with the famous rapper from NWA. If no one got that joke, but it's he was really fun. He was supposed to be a really, really great free agent pickup. Signed him to a 5-year deal. But man, it was one and done. He lasted a single season. Bucks were looking to upgrade their secondary in the early 2010s, excuse me. And then after that first year, they even tried to trade him to San Francisco, but he failed a physical, so they were not able to get any compensation whatsoever for him, and they just had to cut him. He ended up with San Francisco anyways, and then I think he retired in 2014. All this took place in 2012. So yeah, it was the dark ages for the Bucks for sure. Definitely not a great time in franchise history, and Eric Wright was not anything different. He was certainly contributing to that. So yeah, Eric Wright was my third round pick. Mr. Treats, you got any thoughts on Eric Wright? I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about an unremarkable Bucks career.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like at the end of the day, I feel like these things just happen because sometimes guys just don't fit in well, or things happen, life happens, and they're not the same guy like they were before. So I mean, I'm not gonna act like I know a lot about Eric Wright, but I mean, it just comes down to those kind of things when you think about these free agency signings. And if I may, I got a free agent as well that didn't seem like it worked out, or actually definitely didn't work out for our Buccaneers, and that's Derek Ward. This guy was a stud for the New York Giants. Came to Tampa Bay and it didn't work out. He was released after a year, and he just wasn't that same guy. Again, just injury concerns. He didn't fit in well. It's kind of like, just because you are a good, I think this because I used to work when I was in Boston. I used to work in a surgery department. I remember one of the surgeons said, just because you're a good surgeon doesn't mean you're going to fit in every single, you're going to fit well in every single hospital. Every single hospital, aka every single football team, they have a different, they all run differently. You know what I'm saying? So perhaps it was just, potential issues with the scheme fit, competition on the team as well. Didn't work out. So, some of these I think are, like those kind of understandable, bad decisions, and some of them are not. I think this was like a understandable one, based on your judgment or based on what the Buccaneers front office thought, how he did on the Giants, how he played in the NFL. You think that, okay, he could probably just, do well with us, but this is not like, picking up Roberto Aguayo in the second round just because this guy did really well in college. First of all, college and NFL are completely different ball games. And second of all, yeah, you don't draft a kicker in the second round. But yeah, I'll stop with that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's tough because it's not an egregious mistake. It's not a waste of a first round pick or anything, but it is a waste of cap space. Because
Hmm.
unfortunately it really didn't work out. And it's tough. It was during that really dark time in Bucks football. They were not doing much. They were not doing much of anything. It
Who was
was just
quarterback at that time? Was it Freeman or
it might have been Freeman. Who knows? Those years kind of run together in my head.
Garcia? Maybe. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I know.
for sure. Trying to move on. But I love the medical football, the worlds collide.
Oh man, it was just the first thing
Fantastic.
that came to my head. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I work in the
Fantastic.
healthcare field, so when I'm not thinking about football, I guess it's healthcare.
For sure. There you go. All right. Well, hit us with your in the fourth round, I think, or fourth round pick. Well,
Fourth
regardless.
round, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
hit you with my fourth round. I'm gonna go with OJ Howard. It just didn't work at all with OJ Howard. I mean, I guess maybe there were times where he showed that he could do something, but again, this guy was phenomenal at Bama. I remember actually when we got him, I remember my buddy had told me, dude, you got to check out OJ Howard's tape. And I mean, this guy balled out at Bama, but um, I don't know. I guess just underutilization. When you get a guy as a first round pick, the expectations are high for sure. And the stats sheet didn't show that he was matching that expectation at all. You want to make some kind of difference, and he didn't do that at all. Barely any impact on the offense, and injuries was also a really big thing as well. So
Oh yeah.
at the end of the day, it's kind of like, if you're thinking about, football with economics, it's kind of like, the opportunity cost was just not there at all. It was, we were just risking too much for something that was not going to work out well. And again, this one it just straight out sucks because, you got this guy in the first round. And I think about this when I think about my NBA team, the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have made so many horrible first round picks, and then they miss out on these phenomenal guys. I'm not going to talk about basketball. I'll just leave it at that. But it just hurts knowing that. I don't remember exactly from the top of my head who we missed out on in that draft, and if we didn't get OJ Howard. But you look back, like, wow, that sucked. Especially knowing that this guy was your first round guy. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, OJ had all the talent in the world. He had the size, he had the speed. He looked like he had the athleticism. But yeah, unfortunately, he just couldn't put it all together. And 2017 was a really crazy draft because that's the Mahomes draft. You get Mitchell Trubisky. That's the Miles Garrett. A lot of weird stuff. And they missed out on, like, it was either him or Evan Ingram, and Evan Ingram's turned out to be pretty okay. But man, that's kind of nitpicky. That's a tough call for the Bucks front office. So I don't necessarily put it all on them in this case. But yeah, I mean, it was the Jameis era. They were trying to surround him with some playmakers. They already had Mike. So they were just trying to do their thing and give him another really talented option to throw to. And unfortunately, like you mentioned, health got in the way. A lot of on-field production issues. So yeah, that opportunity cost is tough. And that's the biggest issue with a lot of these mistakes that the front office has made, is that it's not only the fact that you don't pick a good player, but it's also that you miss out on potentially getting a better one. So yeah, it's definitely tough in that context for sure. So I'll hit us with the final two picks of mine. I'll go with a recent one, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
Mm.
And man, it's a bummer because he was another Brady era pick, and he really could have capitalized on being on a really talented team with Shaq Barrett. Just a bunch of really good players on that defense, but unfortunately, he still hasn't capitalized on this opportunity. Luckily, he's still on the roster. Maybe he has a bounce back year at this point. It's hard to believe that, but still could happen. So yeah, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, that's my fourth round awful decision pick because he was a first rounder. Excuse me. He was in that, that same echelon as OJ Howard and all these other mistakes that we've been talking about. So yeah,
Mhm.
he's going to be my fourth round pick for sure. Yeah. Any thoughts on the JTS pick or how the?
No thought. I mean, again, yeah, it's just it's sad to see another first round bites the dust. Well, he didn't exactly bite the dust. I mean, he's with us, and he still is doing something, I guess. But I mean, remind me what year he got drafted again? It was
I believe it was 2021, I believe.
2021. Yeah. So I mean, look,
Yeah.
it's been a couple years now. You can't at this point you can't come up with any excuses. You're a first rounder. You got to show us why you're a first rounder. Okay. And yeah, I mean, you got to make a difference. I'm sure you are. I mean, obviously you have him on your worst decision snake draft, but yeah, I can safely say he is not a difference maker.
Mm-mm.
And you want your first round to be a difference maker, which he was not. And yeah, I agree with you. It sucks.
Yeah, it's tough to go back to back, him and Kyle Trask, especially just back to back hammers. Not working.
I don't mean to drop his name right now, but I'm sorry, but I have a bad feeling maybe Logan Hall could be the next kind of JTS. There's something that I don't know. Again, he hasn't stood out yet. But I mean he's still young. We got to give him a lot of time. But just a little hot take, just a
No,
little
I mean it's
future Bucks. Because that whole edge room is just looking embarrassing. I
for
feel like
sure.
everyone's on the chopping block.
Yeah, absolutely. He has
But
not popped at all so far. And like you mentioned,
yeah,
I think he's going to be 24 or 25 this year. So he's still got a little bit of time, but man, it's running out. He was only a second round pick, but he was their first pick of that draft. And so he kind of, I think people think of him as kind of the Bucks' first round pick, quote unquote, of that year. So yeah, Logan Hall could very well end up on this list. He could very well end up being a member of the snake draft of bad front office decisions. And I'll finish it out with, or I'll finish my picks out with Russell Gage, a free agent option.
okay.
And yeah, you feel for Russell Gage because a lot of it was injuries, and he only had 2 years here. So it's kind of hard to really hammer down on it too much. But man, it was tough. It was a lot of money, and it was the wide receiver position. The Bucks could have really used a third wide receiver, a dynamic playmaker, especially after the Antonio Brown debacle, whatever you want to call it. The Bucks were itching for kind of a third option, and Russell Gage unfortunately wasn't able to provide that in the Brady era, in the last year of the Brady era, or the first year of the Baker Mayfield era. So it's been tough. It's definitely hasn't been super fun for him. I think he's still a free agent now at this point. Hopefully he's able to latch onto a team because, he had a decent year or two in Atlanta before coming to the Bucks, but it just never clicked. It never materialized into anything legitimate here. So yeah, that's to round out my snake draft of awful decisions. Mr. Tariq, bring us home, brother. What's your final pick of this draft?
Oh man, my final one. This one. First of all, I want to give you a shout out, Carter, because I didn't realize this before until you had mentioned this. And that is Bo Jackson. Okay. And this guy was drafted first overall, and he didn't play it down with us at all. This actually could maybe even be one of my top picks, but just what the hell were we thinking? Because I'll tell you this, I did a little bit of research and I looked into this, and obviously, this guy's first of all, he's balling out on the baseball field as well. So, he's prioritizing baseball. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he explicitly stated that he is not going to play for the Bucks if they draft him.
Yep.
And the Buccaneers had called his bluff, and they still drafted him, which it doesn't get more stupider than that, Carter. I mean, what makes you think to draft someone, when they say that they are not gonna, they're not gonna play for you? And our producers give me a little bit more, wants me a little bit more background information. What kind of really pissed him off with this whole Buccaneers situation was, that private jet trip to Tampa had cost him the remainder of his college eligibility in baseball. So that's why he said, you know what, I am not going to play for the Buccaneers if they draft me. And what did they do? They drafted him, and he didn't play for the Buccaneers, of course. He stuck to his words, which I don't blame him at all.
No.
I don't know. I mean, it's just straight up just stupid. The guy says, I'm not going to play for you. And you say, yes, you are. And he says, no, I'm not. And that's the end of the story. I know he ended up playing with the Raiders for a bit or something. I'll tell you this though. I mean, I don't know much about Bo Jackson, overall career. I know you're a baseball guy, so maybe you can kind of enlighten me a little bit. But I've never been interested in any two sport athlete, and anytime a guy does go on to another sport, even look at Michael Jordan when he went to the White Sox. I don't think he did well in the White Sox. Correct me if I'm wrong. If he did well, and then you come back and he's not the same Mike that everyone knew before. You know what I'm saying? So never been a fan of these two sport kind of people. Oh, guess who was also a two sport kind of person? Mr. Famous Janus.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, that's right. So yeah, these two sport people need to stay out of our organization, and our organization needs to stay out of these two sport people's minds. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
classic old stupid decision by the old Buccaneers organization. I don't know.
Indeed, those creamsicle bucks were full of them. We probably could have had a whole show just filled with those. But in the context of the greater scheme of things, if we just focused on that, then it would have been kind of a boring show.
I remember I was
But yeah,
reading an article which was like, oh, the Buccaneers were starving for like some big name. That's why they decided to go for Bo Jackson. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know,
I don't
man.
know.
It's a weird thing to read about. Obviously neither of us were alive during that time, but yeah, that it seemed like just Hugh Culverhouse just made a huge mess of things. Yeah, I believe he was the owner at the time. And it was just nasty to read about. Because Bo was supremely talented, just ridiculously good. So yeah, he ended up going to the Kansas City Royals. He was fantastic there. He made a few All-Star teams. It's him, Deion Sanders. Jameis was a little bit of a college pitcher. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept, but yeah, it can be difficult. I still remember Kyler Murray. I mean, Kyler Murray was
Yeah.
drafted in the top 10 by the Oakland Athletics, and then he was like, yeah, I'm going to play football a little bit more. And then oh, thanks. We appreciate it, Ricken. But yeah, it's tough. These two sport athletes, they can they can kind of come back to bite you sometimes, for sure. But yeah, I mean, Kyler ended up getting drafted by the Cardinals, and he said, "Hey, I'm good, Oakland. Y'all have a good time." So yeah, it's an interesting concept. These two sport athletes, and Bo Jackson, it ended up biting the Bucks. It's a waste of a first overall pick, which like at least Jameis played. There's a lot of first overall picks that were kind of waste, but at least they played. Bo did not. So yeah, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hope y'all had a good time listening to us talk a bunch of crap and nonsense about the Bucks being awful. Those are always fun conversations because historically there's a lot of stuff to talk about in that regard. So
And I think I think there could be some honorable mentions that, listeners, if y'all want to drop, mention in the comment section, wherever you're watching this, by all means, please do.
for sure.
Because I feel like, deep down, we could probably go on a little bit more, but
Oh yeah,
we won't.
keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah, we can keep going. I mean,
That's enough pessimism about our Buccaneers. We'll
For
bring some
sure, for
optimism to you, a little bit more optimism next episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely throw in maybe we'll do an opposite thing. We'll do a snake draft of the best Bucks decisions. I don't know. Maybe a little preview of our next week's episode. And so if you want to listen to that, if you want to stick around for that, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. We'll let you know when it's coming out. We might be coming at you live again next week. You can drop in some comments because that'll be pretty contentious, because there are going to be some great players that are left off, unfortunately. So, we'll get into that next week. So definitely stick around for that. We really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Give us a follow at RBLR Sports as well. You can check out our content across this channel and definitely find some really great stuff that we've got coming out every week. So like I said, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. But from me and Mr. Tariq, as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.